Hi Fantasy Managers, welcome to FPL Team Talks. In this video we're going to have a look at those top transfers that have been made by FPL managers in preparation for Game Week 7. Those players that have been sold the most, those players that have been bought the most. We'll have a look and see what we think of those decisions. Later on in the video we're going to have a look at my watch list. Stick around at the end. I've come up with some real differential punts that I really like the look of and I could go for. So if you enjoy these sort of videos, make sure you hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, let's take a look. Let's have a look at some of those players that people are bringing in. First of all, Marcus Rashford. He's been brought in by nearly 750,000 FPL managers. 5 goal involvements. He's playing as a midfielder, but very far advanced for Manchester United. Great monster haul, 18 points at the weekend against Arsenal, 6 points before that. His XGI looks decent. I can absolutely see why people are bringing in. Apart from the Man City game, sandwich either side, you've got some really nice fixtures. Leeds at home, Everton away look appealing particularly. 6.5, he is a really cheap option. The only thing that would put me off, I have to admit, is I don't think Palace away is going to be a very easy game at all. 6.5, I'd love him for Leeds, so he's a possibility for me, but again, I think for 700,000 managers, I can see exactly why he's been brought in. Looks like a sensible call to me. Alongside him then, people also looking at Kieran Trippier. Nearly 500,000 managers bringing him in. Again, nice set of fixtures. He's only had 1 goal involvement all season, but he is a bit of a bonus points king. He seems to mop those up. Got 2 of them at the weekend. XGI looks pretty decent, 0.2. In a Newcastle defence that looks pretty solid as well. Fulham away, Bournemouth and then Brentford both at home look nice fixtures. I am put off a bit by the fact they got West Ham away. If I was looking at Newcastle defenders, and they'd definitely be on the radar, I think away at West Ham would just I would not be thinking about bringing them in just this week. I would postpone it a week. But I can see why managers are bringing him in. He looks pretty decent. I'd just be holding off for one more week, I think, if it was me. The final player, pretty predictably, people are bringing in Ivan Toney. Wow, what a week he had. Blanked, in fact, a couple of weeks before that. But he's got a nice set of fixtures. Southampton, Bournemouth away, albeit on the south coast. But again, you would not 2 teams you'd pretty much like to target. That XGI, 0.82. Fantastic XGI. Got 400,000 players bringing him in already. I can see why. 7 goal involvements in 6 weeks. 7.2. Looks good. He's nailed on pens. Yeah, I don't see any problems with that. I think bringing him in is a really good call. Let's have a look at some of the players that people are shipping out then. One of the top ones to be shipping out, we had Rodrigo, but that seems pretty obvious why people are getting rid of him with his injuries. Then people getting a little bit exasperated, losing patience with Mo Salah. He's the most expensive player in the game. Expectations are high considering what he's done last season. He has a pretty horrible set of fixtures coming up. Chelsea and Arsenal away, Man City at home. Even that Brighton game you wouldn't say is a good game to target. But first up, they do have Wolves at home, and I wouldn't mind targeting that as a fixture. 5 goal involvements in 6 games so far. It's not like he isn't performing. It's perhaps just not to the level that Haaland is. And I think that's, if Haaland wasn't here, I still think he would be one of the players that we would not be getting rid of him. 0.85 looks like a decent XGI. 300,000+ managers getting rid of him. I'm a Salah owner. I don't think I can bring myself to get rid of him this week. Not when they're playing Wolves at home. When we consider Haaland has playing 90 minutes in that game against Sevilla, and they got Tottenham at home, he looks like a great alternative captain, although anyone against Haaland at the moment seems dangerous. But for me, Salah, I think is going to get my nod. Yes, I will probably look to get rid of him after that, but that Wolves home game, I just think I'm going to hold him for one more week. And similarly, I think the same could be said of Trent, who nearly 250,000 managers are getting rid of. Very frustrating as a Trent owner as well. Taken off in the 59th minute, missed out on that clean sheet bonus. He's got 2 goal involvements, both coming in the same game, which means he's blanked 5 out of 6 games. Liverpool's defence just not looking great. His XGI is still decent, but as the most expensive defender in the game, I think if you want to put money into your strike force, and there's lots of options there, he's the one man that you're going to save a lot of money to upgrade to. So I get why people are getting rid of him. For me, I'm just going to hold him for that Wolves game. We'll keep an eye on press conferences. Yes, his minutes are a worry. I think he'll be going, but not before that Wolves game. And lastly, one of the players that people are shipping out, and I can get this entirely. Again, I own him, Perisic. Man City at away, next fixture looks horrible. You assume he'll play that game. Has blanked in the last 2 games. His XG is really good, but it is a small sample size. Then he's got Leicester, then he has Arsenal and Brighton, 2 tough games. For the amount of money I'm paying for him, I think I'm happy to lose him for Manchester City game, and then bring in perhaps from a wild card a different Tottenham defender. But for Perisic, I think his time is gone. I can see why people are getting rid of him. So for game week 7, this is how my side currently lines up. I've got a little bit of money in the bank. I have 2 free transfers, and some of my fixtures are pretty decent. I do have some worries in terms of Perisic. Yes, I'm worried about Trent. Does Haaland play? I think he would against Tottenham at home, such a big game. Henderson or Ward in goal. Bit of a difficult one. I might even be tempted to go for Ward for that one. Bailey on the bench against Leicester, I think that's not a bad game for him, and he obviously scored at the weekend against Manchester City. So I've got 1 or 2 players that I could move around. I've got to take a transfer. I've got to do that, and I'm keen to lose Perisic. If I'm honest, Walker's a big doubt for the weekend as well, so I'll look at that. So Bailey, Perisic, possibly Walker, we'll have a look at in a minute, are my main people to get out. I wouldn't mind targeting a couple of Brighton defenders. So the other important thing to mention is that if I'm going to wild card in game week 9, which is my intention, I can pretty much dead end this side in the next 2 weeks. I've got the next 2 weeks to target, then I can reshuffle my side entirely. So only the next 2 game weeks are really going to interest me. Everton and Wolves are decent fixtures for Brighton. So Dunk could come in. Webster's another opportunity. He seems to be slightly cheaper. Offers slightly more XGI so far this season. I'm not sure whether I trust that over the longer term. Either of those could then downgrade and give me enough money to move to Gross, who has been brilliant this season. He's got a great XGI, so I could upgrade Bailey to Gross if I downgrade Perisic to a Dunk or Webster. Do you know what? I think Gross makes a lot of sense. It just feels like a really boring transfer that everyone else has made, and that really puts me off. So it's not very exciting. Away at Everton, home to Wolves, they're decent fixtures for Brighton. I could see them keeping 1 clean sheet in those. So it may make sense, and Gross has just been brilliant playing so far forward. Other options that I could go for, I could go for an Arsenal defence. Now, given that their fixtures look pretty horrible in game week 9, we got Tottenham, Liverpool, Leeds away even. That doesn't bother me. I'm looking at just at Everton and Brentford. I've got 2 Arsenal players at the moment, no defenders because I took Ramsdale out the other day. Zinchenko would be interesting to me. I could bring him in. That Everton game looks like a game I'd like to target. Brentford, they could definitely score. So Saliba, Zinchenko, possibly. I'd much rather, even though Saliba's got a decent XGI, I think Zinchenko's playing further forward. I think 5.1. Yeah, I quite like the look at Zinchenko. That is definitely a possibility. Wouldn't really release me enough money, though, to get to Gross in midfield. It would perhaps have to be Saliba, then to Gross in midfield by dropping Bailey. So those 2 are decent options. The other thing is that I could do, and this is where it's a bit of a punt, a bit of a different, I do quite like the idea of it. It feels a little bit wrong. If Walker's out, and chances are he's not played in Champions League or any part of it, then he's not going to be fit for the weekend. Gomez could come in, 4.5. His XGI in playing in Bundesliga, 0.2, decent. That's absolutely fine. Akanji would then be another option at 5 million. Now, I could go to Akanji. If the likes of, we think Stones is doubtful, Walker's struggling, Laporte's not in, Akanji could be a decent option. 5 million, he played in Champions League, his XGI is not great. I think if I thought Walker was out, Gomez would get my shout. Only problem I have, I could go from Perisic to Gomez, and that gives me $1 million, plenty of money to get to Gross if I need to, or someone else. Does it feel right that I can bring in a Man City player in who's playing Tottenham at home? I don't mind the Wolves fixture, that's fine, but playing Tottenham at home, I know it's Man City, and I know Tottenham have done really well. I just don't know. It doesn't feel quite right, but I do quite like the idea of bringing a differential Man City defender in. I definitely want some cover if Walker doesn't play. So these 2 are possibilities, but I'll be all ears on that press conference that Pep gives about the weekend team news. That's it for this one then. Let me know who you are going to be bringing in for game week 7. How does it affect your wildcard? And what do you think of those Man City players that could potentially be a real good differential? Let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, we'll be back at you with a team selection video before the start of Game Week 7, so make sure you tune in for that. Hit that like button and speak to you soon.